What do you see as the biggest physiological failure in how cryptocurrencies have been implemented since their inception?
For Bitcoin to win, Ethereum must fail. For Ethereum to win, Bitcoin must fail. Facebook tried to enter the cryptocurrency space a few years ago with a project called Libra, and it kind of got smashed down by the regulators, but they were going in with MasterCard and all these other guys. And we're starting to see this with stablecoins, for example. They're working their way into the cryptocurrency space, and they went from nothing to $243 billion of stablecoins issued with Tether and Circle and the other, what's crypto versus what's not crypto. Like, here's an example. Let's say the Genius Act passes, which is a piece of legislation that's almost through the Congress right now to regulate stablecoins. Well, the minute that passes...
I have a Patreon account. It's a subscription account. We've turned it into quite the community. They've been here with me since the beginning when I started this in the attic. And they're the reason that I get to be here today with you. And so one of the things I do is I offer them the opportunity to ask each and every guest a question. So this is from Andre. What do you see as the biggest physiological failure in how cryptocurrencies have been implemented since their inception? And how is Cardano attempting to correct that course?
So one of the biggest challenges with cryptocurrencies is that you'd like for them to be successful and adopted to be a cooperative. But the way tokenomics work, the way the actual underlying tokens connected to the infrastructure, they're intrinsically adversarial. So it's like kind of a sum-zero market. So for Bitcoin to win, Ethereum must fail. For Ethereum to win, Bitcoin must fail. And for crypto to win, well, the banking industry has to fail and everybody has to go over to crypto. And that's not how the world works. If you look at real modern business, geopolitics, religion, whatever it is, you have to find cooperative equilibria. You have to find a way that if I win, you win. If I make money, you make money. So, they've been tremendously successful from a growth hacking perspective. Cryptocurrency has gone from nothing to 550 million users within 15 years, from no value to a multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem. But they have still stayed somewhat divorced from the Web 2 world and the legacy financial world. They're not interconnected and interoperable. So really the next 5 to 10 years in the industry, it's about how do you build bridges and how do you reset the incentive layer of the system so that people make more money cooperating together. And we're starting to see this with stablecoins, for example. They're working their way into the cryptocurrency space, and they went from nothing to $243 billion of stablecoins issued with Tether and Circle and the other major standards, about 180 million transactions per month. So huge amount of volume. And probably by 2030, we're going to have stable coins grow to about $1 trillion to $2 trillion vertical.
Wow.
And probably about 500 million to 1 billion transactions per month. So massive growth. Under the hood, they're just tokenized treasuries. Short-term treasuries, you buy them, you get a few points of interest. And so they just took them, they tokenized them, they put them on a blockchain. Well, why do people want them? Well, the cryptocurrency space, we want them because it's too volatile. Bitcoin goes way up, it goes way down. I was in Bitcoin before it was $1, and I watched it go to $30 down to $4. I watched it go all the way up to $256, down to $80, then up to $1,200, then down to $250, then up to $20,000. Woo, cocaine and hookers, yay! And then down to $4,000, then up to $68,000, then down to $25, and then all the way up to $100,000. Right? It's just crazy times. You can't build an economy if you have that level of volatility. So you need value stability, and then you can create credit, and then you can have an economy. Well, the legacy world can do that. There is constructions there, but crypto has to learn how to work with that world. Why does the legacy world want to work with crypto? Well, this allows you to dollarize places that normally can't be dollarized. So you look at Argentina or you look at Venezuela or where all these places are, they would much rather have US dollars than pesos. Because the volatility is so high, and you can't trust the banks in these places. So Argentina, for example, the economy is $700 billion through GDP, but there's already $100 billion in cryptocurrency assets that are floating around. So 1 out of every $7 of value is in crypto. Why? Because they don't trust the local currency. So they went to stable coins. So if you're a bank or an issuer, you say, wow, this is the best business in the world. I embrace this crypto, I tokenize treasuries, I get the yield, they get the stability, and I get basically free money. Which is why Tether is now, I think, the 7th or 8th largest holder of U.S. treasuries in the world. And they make they're more profitable than Goldman Sachs, even though they only have 250 employees.
No
300
kidding.
employees. Yeah. So it's those cooperative economics where the legacy world can do something, the crypto world can do something, and when you bring these two things together, and both sides make money, both sides get value. That's what we need to do. Now, specifically for Cardano, Cardano was always designed to be a highly upgradable cryptocurrency, and the way we constructed it is we constructed it where there's an angle for the regulated business to exist. We have technology called Midnight that's coming out, and it's going to allow rational privacy and selective disclosure and all these things that are required for how the legacy financial world exists. But then also at the same time, it has the same ethos and values that Bitcoin does, which is the largest market. So it's fully decentralized and it has all these amazing capabilities. So we kind of straddle both those worlds, and we take this slow and deliberate function. But what's nice about it, because of that, the network has never gone down. For 8 years straight, Cardano's operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's been hammered and attacked, and everybody's tried to kill it. And it's just Johnny Live-A-Lot keeps going, keeps doing things. So it creates a resilience and a trust that's required for people to build that type of infrastructure. So, it's a challenging space. It's highly adversarial. It's highly competitive. And you think like politics is bad, like crypto Twitter is probably much worse than anything Trump's ever said or Biden's ever said or whatever. It's a tough world to live in. But in general, we just keep that durability, and we always have one eye on the future. Like, what is going to be required to bring trillions of dollars of real world assets into the space? What is required to bring Bitcoin into a space where it can participate in the DeFi world and these things? And by doing that, the network has grown. It's gone from nothing to about 4.3 million active wallets, and we think we'll probably grow to more than 10 to 15 by the end of the decade. So it's got a very nice growth rate for it. And also, it now works with everything. So Cardano can start talking to Solana and to Ethereum and to Bitcoin and to all these other standards. And that's what it should be. Their success should be our success, and their user should be our user, and vice versa. That's what's required to win.
What do you mean they should be talking to each other?
So the chains are independent infrastructure. So if you have an asset or an application that lives on Ethereum, it doesn't natively know how to speak the language of an asset or a application living on Solana or Bitcoin or Cardano. So to talk to each other means that you actually create interoperability. And now for the first time ever, you can move users and assets, value, liquidity between the different systems. So imagine like foreign banking systems. So you can't really send a wire transfer to Iran easily or back because the systems have been chopped up and isolated because of sanctions. So imagine Wi-Fi if your phone could only connect to an Apple router or to a Samsung router and it couldn't connect to any other router. Well, that'd be a crazy protocol, right? Or Bluetooth, like my Bluetooth headset only connects to my iPhone, but nothing else. So a long time ago, we realized that interoperability is a super important feature. And so when you look at Cardano, one of the things we realized was it's less about how do I lock you into the system? And it's more about how do I get the system to talk to all the other systems? What is that Wi-Fi moment for the industry as a whole? And just in solving interoperability, then you see a massive flow of transactions, a massive flow of users, and eventually that becomes your commercial engine. So that's what I mean by talking to each other. And then the other side of talking to each other is how do you, for the big stakeholders in those ecosystems, so the people that control billions of dollars of the asset or have built large applications with many users, how do you work with them to create value for them? So a great example would be Brave. It's a very popular browser. It's got about 86 million users. Joe Rogan's a user. Tons of people use it. And it was founded by the guy who created JavaScript, Brendan Eich. And Brendan actually is a pioneer. He started Netscape with a bunch of other guys. And then he was the CEO of Mozilla, which was Firefox. And now he has Brave. Well, Brave built into it wants to be as decentralized as possible. They have an ad model called BATS, and they have a VPN model to keep your information secret and private. Well, they don't want to be in a position where they're a data custodian and they know everything about you, and trust me, bro, everything works great. They want to be in a position where they help you get the level of privacy you want, and they help you share your data when and how you want to do that. In exchange, you get paid to do that, but they know nothing about you. Well, cryptocurrency technologies enable this to happen really well for them, which is why they launched their own token called BATS and these other things. So how do we make their ad model better? How do we make their VPN model better? How do we grow that? And then that solves a problem for 88 million users, and it helps them grow then to 100 million users or 150 million users. Well, once those users are on our ecosystem, Well, then they also will do other things. They'll participate in NFTs and DeFi things and whatever the heck of the latest and greatest newfangled thing is in the space. So their users are our users, and our users are their users. That's a cooperative equilibria that you look for. And if you solve their ad problem, you find a better way to do ads that preserve their privacy and actually share the ad revenue with the people who provide the information, well, that's just as useful to Microsoft and Meta and to Google as it is to Bats. Because they don't want to be a data custodian, and they just want the semantical value of the data. They want to be able to micro-target people and sell things, but they don't want to be in the business of knowing every single detail about who you are. And it's a liability, because if they ever get hacked, then they lose all that data. So you can create economies for these types of things, and then you can start creating ecosystems around them, and then you revolutionize the offering. And every time you do it, it gets more decentralized, and you push more value to the edges. And then you can start cutting people in on things that they previously gave away for free.
Very interesting. Does crypto overtake the current system eventually?
No, I think it'll merge. It's like new media and online media versus legacy media. It just became media. And so the really smart people, like the New York Times and other people, they were quick to realize that they had to get on the web and build a web footprint. And then the dinosaurs, like the Rocky Mountain News and others, they didn't get that right, and they went out of business. And so very similar, when you look at finance, you have TradFi and DeFi. It's going to merge and become Fi. And both sides help each other out. So in terms of the legacy world, the cost of compliance is too high. It's $500 billion a year globally. So you could buy Tokyo every 3 years if you want to comply with KYC, know your customer, anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing. It's extraordinary when you look at the global cost of that. And then also just settlement time is too slow. It takes days or weeks to do certain things, and liquidity is siloed. And so the American liquidity is different from the Dubai liquidity, different from the German liquidity. And that doesn't make sense, because what if a German person wants to buy an American product, or a person in Dubai wants to buy an American product? Why do they have to go and through all these hops and loops to get into the American market? So the legacy world, they want automated compliance, they want universal global liquidity, and they want more transaction volume. Okay, well, the Web3 side of the world wants all the money. They want the capital that's currently locked up in BlackRock and the capital that's locked up in Goldman Sachs and all these other places to move over into crypto products. So there's a marriage there if they can kind of put these pieces together, and one creates innovation and reforms the legacy world, and the other provides the users and ultimately the raw economic value. Well, when those systems merge, it gets harder and harder to distinguish what's crypto versus what's not crypto. Like, here's an example. Let's say the Genius Act passes, which is a piece of legislation that's almost through the Congress right now to regulate stablecoins. Well, the minute that passes, Microsoft could wake up and say, you know what, we want to issue our own stablecoin, and we want to create a cryptocurrency wallet into Windows and just have it right there. So when you boot up your Windows 11, it's right in the system tray, and you click a button for it. Well, the consumer, when they see that, they'll probably say dollars. Won't say cryptocurrency on cryptocurrency XYZ. Just say dollars. And you can use your credit card to top it up and transfer money into it. And it's seamless, because they'll have great bank infrastructure on the back end, because Microsoft is so big and so rich. What did they just do? They just onboarded 2 billion people into the cryptocurrency space. Now, why would Microsoft want to do this? Well, they have customers in Sri Lanka, and they have customers in Bangladesh, and they have customers in Burundi and all these other places. And it's really expensive for them to move money in and out of those countries and sell products in and out of those countries. And you don't want to take a $100 product and have $20 disappear because of Forex risk and intermediaries and all these things. You would much rather that customer have a decentralized money and have a direct financial relationship with you. And no matter where that dollar gets sent to you for that purchase, you get 100% of the purchase value. You'd much rather have that relationship. So if they issue stablecoin, then voila, they have that. It's all there. So the temptation for the Mag 7 to come in, the Magnificent 7, like the Apples and the Microsoft, the Metas, is extremely strong. And in fact, Facebook tried to enter the cryptocurrency space a few years ago with a project called Libra, and it kind of got smashed down by the regulators. But they were going in with MasterCard and all these other guys because they wanted to turn WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger into a payment system. You're chatting with somebody and he say, hey, Shawn, can I borrow $20? Sure. You just tap your phone, you send $20, just like that. No banks involved. It's person to person completely decentralized. Because they said, well, hang on, we got billions of people on this platform. We could be the world's largest payment processor, through this whole setup. So there's too much temptation for these guys to come in. They were just waiting for the regulatory window to open, and then they come in. And once they come in, the consumer's not really thinking, I'm in the cryptocurrency space. I'm a cryptocurrency entrepreneur. It just feels like a better PayPal. It feels like a better traditional bank interface.
Okay.
You see?
Makes sense. Wow. We're going to get more into this. Before I forget, everybody gets a gift.
What you got for me?
Those are Vigilance League gummy bears, legal in all 50 states, made in the USA. You can even pay for those in crypto. No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.